So I'm going to get this disclaimer out of the way now. I messed up when I did my recording, so unfortunately I'm doing a wonderful, terrible dub over of my own vlog process. I apologize. I know this is super unprofessional, but I want to show you guys the process, and I kind of don't have any other way to do that now. So please bear with me. I apologize, and I promise my next vlogs will be done much better. Thank you. So the next part of the process, or I guess the first part I should say, is we need to go over your materials and tools. So first thing is you're going to want your craft foam armor piece. I will go over when I start the next set of armor, which should hopefully be in a month. You're going to want a piece of Worbla. I'm not using one that's too terribly big. This is actually off of a larger sheet. However, you can get one that's probably about this size, maybe even a little larger, for about, I think it was $22. Last time I purchased it. It might be $28 now, though. I'm not sure. I know the prices have been varying pretty frequently lately. The next tools that you're going to definitely be needing are your heat gun, which I 100% recommend you go down to Lowe's, Ace Hardware, Home Depot, Walmart, whatever you have, go and get one of these. They can range anywhere from $20 all the way up to, I think $50 was the most I saw. I paid about $20 for this at Lowe's. It happened to be on sale. It's Wagner brand. Really like it. I don't recommend you use little heat guns, the little craft ones. They suck for this type of process. Those are really good for bedazzling and jewelry things. Next thing is some scissors. I would recommend old ones and a pen. So let's go ahead and start this process. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making sure that the piece fits on here, which I've already done this, but I'm just going to show you for kicks. And I'm putting the shiny side down. This is so that it adheres nicely, and then the gesso will stick to this later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the heat gun, and I'm just going to start this process 1/2 at a time. You'll watch as I go along that I am pressing down on both sides, and this is just to kind of get the first general seating of the Worbla. I try to press it into some of the nooks and crannies just to get the details started, but from here you just keep going along and doing this the entire way around your piece of armor. You'll also notice that I start to cut things out on the process. This is so I have a bend to fold over. I'll usually heat everything up before I cut it. It's a personal preference. Some people find it easier to cut it when it's heated, other people find it easier to cut when it's hard, kind of like a tag board. So something you also want to keep in mind, save every piece of this Worbla that you use when you're doing the heat gun over it. You can actually press and heat it together. I'm sure many of you who use Worbla already know that, but for those of you who have been interested in trying it, yeah, that is one of the benefits of it over Wonderflex. I've actually had that question asked to me a lot. It does adhere a lot better to itself than Wonderflex from what I have found, and I've started to really prefer it for most of my projects. So as you can see here, I'm going over most of my detail work that I did already using the scissors and also the pen, just to make sure that I'm like right along those lines, creasing very nicely, and then folding over as I go. This is just to ensure that I get all that detail work that I may or may not have put into it. This is one of the easiest ways that I've found to be able to do this, unless you have a lot of scrap Worbla laying around. If that's the case, then you can just, roll it up and add it this way. However, if you're doing larger chunks like this, it can be a little bit easier to do it this way. It might take a little more time, but I found that if you're new with working with Worbla, this method definitely seems to jive a lot more. At least with me. It might not with you, but I know for me it does. So now here's one of the points where having the pen comes in handy. As you can see, I have made these rivets, quote unquote, out of googly eyes. So what we're going to be doing here is when this is hit with the heat, we're going to just press and mold around it. Now I prefer to use a pen cap like this, just try to get all the way around. You can also use your fingernails. Your fingernails are longer like mine are. Otherwise, just go through and press them down the entire way. So, the next part that we're going to go ahead and start before we do the gessoing is how we do the rounding of the armor pieces. So, as many people know, Worbla can get kind of hot. Not necessarily to the point where it will burn you, but it does get warm. So I do recommend when you're doing something like this, either to have a dummy, or use your own arm like a dummy, like I'm showing you right now. This is because I didn't have enough time to really make one, nor did I have the materials or desire to. So I'm just using an old long sleeve shirt that I don't mind if it kind of gets destroyed. I say that because sometimes you'll have hot glue leak through the back and it gets all over your shirts. I mean, of course it washes out, but it's a little gross. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat both sides. I do this personally because I know that the foam does get a little squishy and soft on the back, and then you also of course need the Worbla to heat up, otherwise it's not going to round. Once the plastic itself is hardened, that is what holds the foam into place. Now you'll notice that I do focus quite a bit on some of the edges here, and that's because these are the parts that really get stuck a lot of the times, I know for me, when I'm working on this. And it's particularly because we're bending everything around. Go ahead and just make sure to give that chunk a little extra tender love and care. And then so when you're first bending this over, go ahead and just do it in a basic oval around your arm shape. I know mine is a very, very much so an oval. So just go ahead and make that hook, and then what you want to do is just hold it there. As you can see, it's clearly not hot enough to burn me or bother me too much, so I'm just going to hold it, wave my arm around a little bit, get it to cool down, and rinse repeat with the other side. And as you can see, ta-da, we have our wonderful gauntlet. Now of course I don't have any of the glove attachments for this. That's because I have to separately make those out of Worbla and hot glue those onto a glove. So that should be coming later this week. We'll go from there. I'm really looking forward to doing that part. You may also notice me bending this around a lot towards the top, and that's just so it fits around my hand in my hand shape. It's just personal preference. So I don't necessarily think it's required to do, but hey, power to you if you want to do it. So let's go ahead and go inside, and we'll start that gesso process. Now we're going to move on into the gessoing process. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and show you the stuff, what you'll need. You'll need some cardboard, of course all of your supplies. You want to make sure that your table's nice and covered. You're going to need paintbrush. I prefer nice smoother paintbrushes, kind of like this. They're a little softer. I've used the sponge ones, I've used the bristly ones. The bristle ones I find really do kind of come off. So use whatever paintbrush you want at your discretion. One disposable cup, Dixie cup, whatever you have. Napkins, of course, to clean up. A wash rag, just in case you get a little crazy. I have already, so safety precaution. And of course your gesso. Now a lot of people that I've seen do tutorials really stress using the Liquitex. I haven't had any issue with it. This stuff is cheaper. It's just kind of a generic off-brand that I found at our Joann's here. 16 ounces, and it ran about $10 bucks. I know the Liquitex can sometimes run a little bit more. I've used just the standard gesso, and I've also used the gel gesso. I really like the gel gesso, but unfortunately it's a lot more pricier, and it wasn't readily available to me. So I went ahead with this. took a risk. I really like it. I definitely recommend it. So let's begin. You want to pour enough gesso into the cup so that you have enough to really just get started. And remember that you can pour it back in so long as you're not using this for other art projects. Like I specifically use this only for my crafting. I don't use it on any oil canvas. So keep that in mind. So as we go through this, I just want to stress, don't worry too much when it comes to the Worbla to making sure that this coat is super thick and that it gets totally covered. This isn't like foam where you need to make sure everything is covered in a layer of glue, resin, or gesso. When Worbla's hit with spray paint, it'll more likely slough off rather than eat through, as many of you other crafters are probably aware. With gesso, since you're using it mostly to be able to sand it to a smooth surface, what you want to do is go back 2 or 3 times and do multiple coats on this. So what I'm showing you tonight is just that single coat that we're putting on. I will not be recording the other 2 to 3 coats that I put on because let's face it, that's just boring. So when we're done with this, I will give you guys kind of a glimpse of what this looks like just straight onto foam, because I'm also doing a piece like that as well. So you'll notice here that I went and I checked to see if I might be able to actually start sanding down the other piece of armor. And unfortunately, I am going to have to put another layer of gesso on it tonight, so that's what I'm getting ready to go do here. I won't be able to show you guys the sanding process tonight as I had hoped. However, I will go ahead and record some of that tomorrow because I should be able to show you the sanding for the rest of the armor pieces. And then I'm hoping that the rain will clear up within the next few days and we'll be able to give you guys a quick lesson on how to do the spray painting. Until then, I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you in the next episode of whatever I end up doing and crafting for you. Later, guys.